Dapper Drams presents Flights of Fancy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Flights of Fancy. If you're unfamiliar with how this segment works, well, let me break it down for you. I've pondered over my ever-growing collection of samples and pulled out those that I thought would make for a nice flight comparison. I'm going to match up different age statements, styles, strengths, or anything else that I figured would make for a really nice comparison. I drink about 75 to 80% of it and then do the reviews based on that. The remaining liquid is used here in a head-to-head competition to find out which one is going to be the winner. I don't give scores here, but I will be deciding if each one is worthy of being called a Dapper Dram. Today's flight is featuring the ever-popular and ever-collectible Macallan Distillery, and specifically their Edition Series. For anyone who is unaware, Macallan decided to have an annual release that focused on different cask treatments and collaborations with different industry experts and some other experimental type stuff. They call it the Edition Series, and it started in 2015 with edition number 1. We're currently on edition number 5. Now, two things before I get started. First, my goal for Flights of Fancy was to always do a 3 whiskey comparison because I think that that's the best number for what I'm doing here. But because I have 4 of the Edition series whiskeys, I'm going to do those 4. And secondly, as I'm sure you can do with some simple math, there are 5 editions out there and I only have 4 here on my cask. The reason for that is because in typical collectible Macallan fashion, Edition 1 has become extremely popular and rare and collectible, and you're not going to be able to find it unless you're willing to pay about 10 times retail price at auction. So I'm going to do editions 2 through 5 today. Now, I'm not going to go into what makes each edition different from the last, or what makes each one special in its own right. It's going to eat up too much time if I did that, so if you're interested, just head on over to the Macallan website and you can check it out for yourself, or check any of the reviews out there or Macallan blogs if you can find them. I'm sure they're out there. Now, each one of these is natural color, as are all Macallans, and I do believe that they are all non-chill filtered. And each one, interestingly enough, increases in strength by 0.1% for each edition as you go. Edition 1 was 48.1%, Edition 2 48.2%, 3 is 48.3%, and so on. Just an interesting fact. Let's jump right into edition number 2. Excuse me. Now I want to reiterate that I have already reviewed these, so I'll just be giving you the highlights and anything new if I happen to come across it. It's dark and rich and thick sherry. Lots of caramel and toffee. Chocolate and vanilla. It's very fruity with oranges, orange peel, raisins, plums, apricots, and figs. It's a bit nutty with pecans, walnuts, and almonds. There's a few more fruits in there, caramel apples and pears, not caramel pears, and cherries. I really do like the nose on this one. It's classic Macallan. Let's move on over to edition number 3. It's very oaky, more so than edition 2. Nuttier, with wood spice, nutmeg and allspice to be specific. Brown sugar, toffee, caramel, rich vanilla, and chocolate. It's a lighter sherry profile, more of a raisin or date sensation than I would say a typical sherry. Fruity, baked pears, unripe bananas, and even a hint of pineapple. Some red apple skins, and a Concord grape. Pretty good. All right, let's move over to edition number 4. A much stronger oak than the previous 2. Honey, floral notes, It's fruity, but more dark fruits like raisins and plums, cranberries, oranges, and red apples. There's some darker notes in there like tobacco, caramel, vanilla, some butter toffee, very buttery, maple syrup. It's another classic Macallan. I would say, so far on the nose, I would put them in order edition 2, 4, and 3. All right, let's move on to edition number 5. See, now that's very interesting. This is very much different than the other 3. Very strong bourbon notes. Very atypical for a Macallan, which is known for sherry, heavy sherry profile. Lots of vanilla, caramel, brown sugar. It's very sweet, much more sugary sweet than these other ones, which was a darker sweetness. Now here's something I've never had before. Kettle corn. Very strange to have that I've never had that in a whiskey before. It's quite odd, but anytime you can find something new, it's something to take note of. Peaches and cream, vanilla custard, apples, pears. Very sweet oaky notes. I like this one a lot just because of how different it is than the other 3 and how different it is for a Macallan. All right, let's shift back over to edition number 2 and go in for a tasting. A lot of orange peel and apricots, figs, very figgy, and some light oak. Some darker notes like tobacco, molasses, brown sugar, sherry, more so the molasses and the tobacco. Fruit cake, or more specifically some spice cake with nutmeg and ginger, chocolate, vanilla, and a dark caramel. Quite good. Let's move on to number 3, edition 3. A nice oaky presence, not too much. Plenty of vanilla. Some semi-sweet chocolate. Honey. Toffee. Bananas. Spice cake. It's a little leathery with some sherry and a hint of ginger. Okay, let's move on to edition number 4. It's rich, but it's not too sweet. Raisins and figs. Fairly oaky. Nutty as well, walnuts. Some nutmeg and a little clove. Plums, prunes. Definitely orange zest. A little bit of chocolate. More oak. It's syrupy, but it's more like a cherry cough syrup. Okay, so let's go in for edition number 5. Now, it's initially sweet. Then the arrival hits and it becomes quite spicy. A lot of oak and wood spice. And a lot of bourbon notes. Like I got on the nose before, again, this is very atypical for a Macallan to have this strong of a bourbon presence. Lots of vanilla. That weird kettle corn note that I got before, quite different, but as before, it's welcome. Breaks things up a bit. It's somewhat astringent, and even a touch sour. Touch more. It's aromatic with a little barrel char, floral, some hay, orange peel, a little chocolate, and it's a bit salty. Quite different than the other three, that's for sure. Now, rated individually, I scored them pretty much in order of their release. Edition number 2 scored the highest, and edition number 5 scored the lowest. But in this particular setting, with a head-to-head type competition, I think I'm still going to go with number 2 as today's winner. However, I'm going to switch number 3 and number 4. I don't know why. Number 4 just offered a little bit more of a difference between 2, 3. Something about it, putting them together, 4 outshone number 3. However, number 2 is still the winner. Now, as for the question of the day, as always, are these Dapper Drams? Well, editions 2 through 4, I'm going to say yes, they are Dapper Drams. However, edition number 5, no. It's just a little too harsh on the palate. The nose was fantastic. I really did appreciate how different and sweet the nose was, but the palate was too harsh, too astringent. Over-oaked would be the best way of describing it. It's just too much oak. For that reason, I have to say no, it's not a Dapper Dram. Well, if you would like to read the official reviews on all 4 of these, head on over to distiller.com and just search the username generously_Paul. There, you can read these and all of my reviews. Well, that's all the time we have for today on Dapper Drams. We'll see you next time.
This has been Flights of Fancy, a Dapper Drams production.